All right, let's get the discussion underway then. The race for KwaZulu-Natal is hotting up ahead of Wednesday's vote. Premier candidates spending the weekend campaigning in numerous areas. So let's speak to the IFP's premier candidate in KwaZulu-Natal, Thami Ntuli. Also part of this discussion is the DA's Chris Pappas, as well as the ANC's Jomo Sibiya. To all of you, gentlemen, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. I see some of you still trying to position your cameras, so let me go to the most stable camera so far. Chris Pappas, good evening to you. Let's begin the conversation. My understanding is that you're actually conducting this interview at the airport in Durban because you've just landed, having been in Gauteng for the final push. How well do you think the Democratic Alliance has done thus far in trying to get South Africans out to vote?
Thank you, and good evening to you. I'm in the Pietermaritzburg airport, actually, the beautiful city of Maritzburg, and good evening to my colleagues who also joined from other parties. I think we've done a really good job. In previous elections, I think we've found ourselves a little bit lost as a political party in terms of our ground operations for various reasons. But I think over the last couple of years, we've really regained momentum, culminating into what we saw today in Benoni. But I think to give credence to this is our own internal tracking, as well as some of the external polls that we see, where it is not usual for the Democratic Alliance to be tracking upwards towards election day. Usually we sort of plateaued at this stage, and we're really excited about that. It shows that there is still momentum on the ground. There's still momentum in our message to drive voters towards the voting stations as we get closer to Wednesday.
Let's come to the IFP. I want to end with the ANC. Ntuli, good evening to you. The IFP, how close are you to snatching that province away from the ANC? This has been part and parcel of your campaign messaging. How well do you think you've done?
Good evening, Ntuli, and your viewers at home and the panelists. Well, we are quite inspired as the IFP by the thousands who are gathering on our behalf everywhere we go, especially in the areas where we've been considered to be not enjoying much of the support, like Durban and the south of KwaZulu-Natal, especially in the areas where the ANC is governing, where we're not in power. We are hopeful that the support they are showing in activations and when we are doing mobilizations with what they will also demonstrate during the 29th of May. Because you recall that the people of KwaZulu-Natal have been demonstrating a much more support to us from 2019. We've been on an upward trajectory, and even in 2021, regaining most of the municipalities, and even the recent by-elections, snatching most of the wards from the ANC that has been historically governed by the ANC. And we're hopeful that that kind of the support is a hope to us that the people of KwaZulu-Natal will consider the IFP during these 29 national and provincial elections.
Mr. Sibiya, let's come to you. How confident are you that you are going to retain KwaZulu-Natal? You've heard these political parties, and there has been intense campaigning in KZN. Is the ANC on shaky ground there?
Thank you, Ntuli, and greetings to the colleagues who are part of the panelists. Ntuli, as the African National Congress in KwaZulu-Natal, we are quite certain that we are going to retain and maintain the province. The ANC, come the 29th and beyond, will be still the ruling party in KwaZulu-Natal. The work that we have done over the years, taking over the province in 2004 from the IFP, which failed dismally to produce the results for the people of this province, changed the fortunes of the people of this province. We can talk about the infrastructure that we have been able to put and give the people of this province. We are talking about the change in the lives of the communities of the KwaZulu-Natal people who were coming from the old days of KwaZulu government but today they are enjoying their democracy and freedom. But beyond that, they are enjoying a better life. If you look around KwaZulu-Natal, in particular in rural areas in the northern part of KwaZulu-Natal, where poverty was the order of the day, today you've got people who are living a better life because of the ANC government. But beyond that, we've done quite a lot of work in KwaZulu-Natal, whether we talk about the state-of-the-art schools that we've built, the hospitals that we've built, the roads that we have constructed everywhere in the province. You can access this province from any side of it. It's the work that the ANC has done. It has changed literally the people's lives in KwaZulu-Natal, and people do understand where we come from in this province. We're a very unique province with quite a different history, but the ANC has been able also to bring stability in KwaZulu-Natal. The violence that was there, we've been able to stabilize the province. The province is a bit stable. It's not absolute, but there is quite a lot of work that has been done. So we are quite confident. The campaign has been very intense. We've gone to our people. They do tell us that they understand that the ANC, we've done quite a lot of work. Yes, somewhere, somehow, we've made mistakes. We have learned from those mistakes. We have corrected those mistakes. We continue to correct them. But they understand that in 30 years, we wouldn't have changed everything that was done over many years that the ANC was not in power. But things have changed drastically in the province of KwaZulu-Natal because of the ANC.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, those were the opening remarks, just to lay the ground for why we are having this discussion about KZN. I'd like to then begin the conversation with the kind of support that you think you as political parties ought to land to the IEC as it embarks on this very important work of conducting these elections. So please think about that. We are in conversation with some of the premier candidates for the province of KwaZulu-Natal. The IFP candidate is Thami Ntuli. The Democratic Alliance's candidate is Chris Pappas, and we have the ANC's Joe Mosibia, not necessarily a premier candidate in that province, but he represents the ANC. All right, gentlemen, let's get back into it. Chris Pappas, the idea right now is about supporting the work of the IEC. Mr. Sbiya alluding to the ANC having stabilized KZN from a province that's become synonymous with political violence. Already there are allegations from the MK party of vote rigging, and that's because they tried to intercept, I think it was a truck that was meant to deliver election material at one of the facilities, and they assumed that people were voting inside that facility. This was actually confirmed as well by the IEC head in KZN, Domfuti Masinga, just a short while ago on our station. Nonetheless, a case has been opened. How important do you think it is for political parties to educate their members and supporters alike to not impede the work of the IEC?
Thanks, Ntuli. I think maybe let me start by thanking the two colleagues online for the maturity that their political parties have shown throughout this election. Whether it's the IFP, ANC, or ourselves, I think we've entered into this election understanding that we have a volatile province that can easily be sparked. There are, however, sadly, political parties out there that do take advantage of our history and of the situation that we do face in KZN. But I'm happy to share a platform with colleagues who haven't done that. As the DA, we are fully committed to making sure that the IEC is able to do their job in a free and fair manner. However, that doesn't negate that we also have responsibility as a political party to ensure that where the IEC does falter, and these things do happen on election day, where voting stations don't open in time, or there are various issues, that we do hold them accountable to that. What we would urge all residents of KwaZulu-Natal, all supporters of the Democratic Alliance, and all political parties is to respect the work of the IEC. We must ensure that the integrity of the vote is maintained at all times. And there are various structures to deal with the issues. As the DA, we will take appropriate and measured action where needed, but we will make sure that all our activists and volunteers on the next 3 days appreciate, as well as support, as well as respect the work that the IEC has to do, which is a very difficult job.
Yeah. Thami Ntuli, how do you think the IEC should be supported?
No, actually, I think before I respond to that one, I want to correct with what has been presented, which is not correct, that the life of the people is better in this province. I've met people on daily basis, even at Eweini, who are sleeping without food, people who are living in temporary shelters for quite very long after the floods. And I don't think for people who are living in shacks who do not have proper houses can be said to be living a better life. Only for the few, those who are connected can maybe claim that they're living a better life. And again, we cannot say you have built hospitals when you have built only 2 hospitals and then you call them the state of the art. Whereas the IFP built hospitals even in rural places. We had factories that were built in mundane rural places that employed almost 80,000 people. Now under the ANC government, it's only employing 8,000 people. So I wanted to start by correcting that we must state the fact people are...
I think you've muted, Mr. Ntuli.
When we have such an important platform, we can paint a good picture about the people, whereas people are not living that good life. Well, when it comes to ensuring that there is peace during these elections, as the IFP, we have educated our members. I think they are now matured enough. Our democracy, I think, is maturing now because we have seen even not only the leaders, but our members during the voter registration dancing with the different political parties, dancing for our songs and even for their songs, sharing food. And we are hopeful that our democracy now is at a point wherein people really understand, except for the few who are the cause of the assassinations that we see to the politicians, especially those who are actually having egos of positions, which is unfortunate. And we've been calling for the collaboration between the leaders of the society, the religious leaders, business leaders, even the traditional leaders, including the society at large, to work with the security cluster so that we all fight against these killings. And it's unfortunate that there are still incidents wherein you receive reports of no-go areas where we find other political parties not allowed to go and actually campaign. And we are hopeful that as we get closer to the elections, everyone now will be engaged with the process of ensuring that the elections are free and fair. The party agents will be ensuring that there is no rigging of the elections, because the incident that you saw of the ballots, which were just left with someone who was known to be wearing a yellow T-shirt every day, with no police looking after those ballot papers, with no IEC personnel looking after those ballot papers, is really caused a concern. However, we are confident that the IEC has been conducting the elections, and we are confident that they will be conducting the elections for us to have free and fair elections.
All right. Before I move on from you then, you've now just made an allegation that there was a person in a yellow T-shirt who was handling IEC material. Where was that exactly? And have you reported it to the police as the IFP?
Is the incident, I think you were also mentioning, which took place in Hammersdale, where the chairperson of the Women's Brigade, Councillor Njai, and our councillors in eThekwini, they personally went there and they saw the ballot boxes, and they reported to us that unfortunately the one who was carrying the key is someone who's used to be wearing a yellow T-shirt. And what was unfortunate to the incident, whether it's justifiable or not justifiable, whether that was supposed to be a place for storing those ballot boxes, there was no IEC official, there were no police to look after them, is an incident which I think everyone is aware about it. We've seen even the circulating videos of the incident, which was saying is an incident which we believe our party agents and the party agents for all political parties would be making it a point that during the election time, they'll be able to compare the data, the stats, so that there will be no rigging of the elections.
All right. Marshal Dlamini has just joined this conversation, EFF Premier candidate for KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Dlamini, we're talking about supporting the work of the IEC as political parties. Yes, of course, political parties ought to point out the wrongs when they occur, but in this period, how do you think political parties can support the work of the IEC so that it runs a smooth election?
No, thanks, Tuli, and the viewers. Know that we are all over the country. We just came from the bomb at our closing rally, our Electoral rally, closing the election campaign. Look, the IEC has to be supported because beyond the 29th of May, South Africa has to remain standing. So it's important that all of us as political parties, leaders, must act in a responsible manner. We must never be, as leaders of political parties and with our own political parties, to be selfish and prioritize our political organizations more than South Africa. That's why in the EFF we say that South Africa is more important than anything else, including political formations. That's why we have to support the IEC. We have to make them accountable. We have to point out on what is wrong. And as far as we're concerned, since we started this process of this campaign, we've been into the IEC meetings and where we had issues and concerns. The IEC has responded positively. So I don't think it would be responsible. Anyone that at this stage you want to collapse these elections by blaming IEC. Yes, there are individuals. We, as EFF, we have written to the IEC in terms of their employment with the relation of presiding officers that are mostly SATU members. SATU that has came out clearly that they are supporting the ANC. They are part of the bigger alliance which they form. They're part of SATU. We've returned to IEC. We didn't want it to make it as just a matter for political expediency. We returned to the IEC and then we said, we've got a concern with this employment of teachers that are a part of SATU, which is a direct affiliate of the ANC. Actually, SATU is on the ground campaigning for this. And the IEC has responded to us that it's their constitutional right as individuals, teachers can be employed as IEC presiding officers, and we respected that and said to our fighters and our forces, our party agents, let's go and deal with those issues. So we are available to the 3,000 voting stations. We'll have party agents everywhere. But it's important that we must never give up on the institutions of this country. Must never give up on the constitution of this country. We have to make amendments where we have to make it, but we must never political expedience and ambitions to get to the corridors of power that will set up. So we'll support the IEC. We'll point out where the wrongs, as I'm giving a similar example that we have written to them.
All right.
Concerned that why are you employing teachers when you've got so many qualified and so many young people who are graduates who can go and preside over these voting stations. The IEC, they responded and forging ahead. So we're ready to go. Elections are starting from tomorrow.
Okay.
Special votes.
Mr. Sbiya, you've heard the allegations from the IFP that a certain individual with a yellow T-shirt, with the keys, and it would appear that the MK party as well, quite present at that particular incident in Hammersdale. How does the ANC think that the IEC can be supported in its work? I think you're muted, sir. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you once again. My apologies. I think, let me appreciate how Marshal Dlamini has really responded on what the so-called IFP Premier candidate, Mr. Ntuli, because he came straight and really said what we all as parties in South Africa should be saying. this thing of making unfounded allegations and propaganda and everything that we see today, it's just an indication of desperate kind of posture by some political parties. What Mr. Ntuli is doing and saying, really, I didn't expect it from him being a premier candidate. I believe people of his level will understand the systems of IEC and how IEC works. Even if there are issues that they're supposed to be, having issues with, or even if there are issues that they are concerned with, they should be taking those issues up with the IEC than making all these unfounded allegations, because we are currently addressing propaganda, addressing lies. People are just desperate to paint IEC as if it's being used by the ANC. IEC is independent, and the independence of IEC must always be protected, because this is the institution that really, really preserves the democracy of this country. So you've got people here who are not used to democracy, and they will tell you about all these sort of things that are unfounded. And, from a premier candidate, we expect better from such a man. And to find him on national TV saying all these things that he's saying, instead of going to IEC and raising them, you don't hear him. You've asked him, did you go to IEC? He never responded to you. That's the kind of a premier you'll have in KwaZulu-Natal if you vote such people who are narrow and empty, don't understand system. But let me come back to what has been said by my other two colleagues. It's a reality that we need to protect IEC. We need to defend and make sure that we assist IEC in its work, but also enable it to do its work with diligence, not interfere in IEC. It's not the first time in South Africa that we are having elections. Since 1994, we've been having elections, and all these elections have been running smooth. But today, you've got a party that is new, that is desperate, that thought when it comes, it's going to change things or the world will turn upside down. And now they are realizing that going to elections is not like, a child's play. So they are making all these allegations, the MK they are doing. They go everywhere saying they're intercepting IEC trucks and everything. Why are they interfering with IEC? It has never been done. If they go to PLC meetings, they will understand how IEC works. They know very well how IEC works. Where are the, the material of IEC, how is it stored and who stores it? So all these things that we have seen, the videos and everything, IEC has clarified itself, has clarified its position on it. So I don't know where the ANC features in all this. IEC is independent, but because people are so obsessed with the ANC, they think if they paint the ANC with the brush that they are using, people will denounce the ANC. Sadly, it's not going to happen. But I want also to say to Mr. Ntuli, lastly, this thing of saying you've built hospitals, IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, it's a lie. Hospitals were built by missionaries in this country, in fact, in KwaZulu-Natal. Quite a number of missions built hospitals. Whether you talk about Church of Scotland in Umsinga, you talk about Nongoma, St. Benedictine, you talk about Ngotu, Charles Johnson Memorials, they were never built by the IFP. In fact, the ANC has made them better. Even Prince Umshien is doubled and tripled its size now. St. Benedictine is far better than the hospital that even the missionaries built when IFP was still in government. You've never built anything. We've made them better. Come to Ngotu and see how is the hospital Charles Johnson Memorial. Go to any hospital. It's no longer as hard what IFP left them to be. We have made them bigger, better, and working much better than what they used to be, with better machines and providing medicine. Thank you.
All right. We are in conversation with the premier candidates of KwaZulu-Natal, barring that one of the ANC. They've yet to tell us who their premier candidate is, but perhaps we'll find out tonight. Let's pick up with Chris Pappas, the DA's premier candidate for KwaZulu-Natal. Chris Pappas, why would you make a good premier for KwaZulu-Natal? Why should the people of KZN trust you with their vote?
Thanks, Coley. I think the first thing is that when I'm presented with an opportunity to engage critically on important matters, I don't spend time bickering between two political parties trying to outdo each other on a platform on serious issues. I think that's the first thing, is that KZN is looking for someone who is serious about turning things around, and that doesn't engage in petty politics when presented with serious issues that we have to deal with. Second thing is that I'm a leader of a government. I think it's only myself and Mr. Ntuli here who can tell you that we lead governments, and it's not an easy thing to do. local government is far more difficult than provincial government, is the coal face of service delivery. And that's what I do every single day, is turning a broken government around to be able to deliver for all residents within my locality. The third thing, Ntuli, is that we have gone many years with leaders who have outgrown the problems that we face in our province and in our country. In other words, we have the same senior leaders sitting around the table making decisions that lead us backwards. And I have to disagree with Mr. Sabir about whether people in KZN have a better life or a worse life. I think the Gini coefficient or the inequality coefficient has increased. Grants haven't kept up with inflation. There's the highest levels of unemployment. All these things we can statistically verify and actually engage objectively on them. But we are looking for leaders who are age appropriate for the problems that we have and can actually solve problems instead of apologizing for them every single election. And that's what I do. I don't apologize for the problems that we face. I come up with real solutions to solve these issues. And the last thing, then, Ntuli, is as a member of the Democratic Alliance and as a leader in a Democratic Alliance government, there are only two political parties in this country that run provinces, and that is the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance. And by most measures, the DA-led governments are head and shoulders above those of our opponents, whether it is declining inequality standards, whether it's the lowest unemployment, whether it's the best infrastructure, the most investment, or many of the statistics that we look at in terms of good governance, the DA is far ahead. And those are the policies that I aim to implement. Those are the policies that I bring to KwaZulu-Natal with capacity. We're not a 5% party in KZN. We're not a 2% party like the polls are showing the EFF. We are a political party with capacity and reach to go across the whole of KwaZulu-Natal and bring in the expertise necessary. And I would be the leader of that. I would be the leader who comes with a vigor and an energy to lead that. I'll come with experience in government, and I come with the expertise, whether it's my qualifications or the experience that I've had at a local level, at leading a government as well as in the provincial legislature. So that is why the people of KZN should vote for me on the 29th of May.
All right, Mr. Ntuli, I'm going to time you because I'm noticing you take a bit of time. So Chris Pappas says he's the age-appropriate leader to take KZN forward. What do you have to offer?
Well, the track record of the IFP, when we were governing KwaZulu-Natal and even now where we are governing, like I'm a mayor of King Beshwayo, the only district with clean audits, with clean audit, and we have governed this province. And I don't want to be dragged on the issue of a debate of the missionaries, Prince Mshieni being improved. But we have, during our time, been able to invest in the infrastructure, more than 6,000 classrooms, because we prioritized education. The colleges of education now converted to TVET colleges, which were built by the IFP, including the Mangosuthu University of Technology. I don't think there could be someone who may deny such facts on the national television if he understands the national television. We, in fact, are a solution to the issues of employment, because during our time, we're not receiving the budget that the current government is having today. We had a shoestring budget, but the things that we're able to do for the people of KwaZulu-Natal, even the issue of the economy during our time was able to produce job opportunities. You'll hardly find so many people who couldn't access job opportunities. I started, in fact, as a teacher early 90s. Even those who couldn't finish school, they were able to get employment when they had to go to the industries and factories. And we are saying we're a solution even now to, in fact, bring back KwaZulu-Natal to its glorious moment, wherein even the investment in agriculture was meaningful, even in the people who are living in the rural areas or even in the township, even to ensure that the spaza shops, the saloons that have been invaded by the illegal foreign nationals will be brought back to their rightful owners and support those SMEs, as we believed on the principle of self-help and self-reliance, wherein we supported most of the cooperatives, we supported most of the emerging entrepreneurs through the bank that was founded by the IFP government. Right. It now known as the Itala Bank. we have a solution. In fact, we are not only talking about promises, things that we'll be doing, and we are not apologetic for the work that we're able to do. We ran a government which was free of corruption, and then we'll be offering the people of KwaZulu-Natal such an opportunity. In particular, I'm not also new in government. I've been a mayor of Nkandla and now a mayor of King Cetshwayo, and you can attest on the track record where I've actually led.
Okay.
You recall that we were fortunate. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ntuli. Let's quickly bring into the picture Marshall Dlamini from the EFF. Mr. Dlamini, what is it that you think you have to offer as a premier candidate of the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal?
No, thank you, Ntuli. And this is no time for showboating. I hear my fellow counterparts, you're asking them, can they do? Look like they don't know what's Natal. That's the first thing. You got to know clearly what you're going to lead. So let me give you a simple definition of KwaZulu-Natal. As things stand, this is a province that contributes about 600 billion to the GDP, and it's got so much potential. And how do you get people of KwaZulu-Natal? As things stand, we've got over 4 million of them social grants, and we've got 2 million of them unemployed in terms of expanded unemployment. So those are the key things, because we've been to the ground, we've spoken to our people, and they said, look, we've got issues of unemployment, issues of access to land, issues of access to the economy, as the majority of people of KZN were excluded to the economy of KZN. So as things stand, KZN with 17% manufacturing capacity, you know that it's a province with so much potential, so much coastal line. We've got the biggest port in Durban, finished products. We've got one of the major ports in Richards Bay of commercial products. So you've got to industrialize, you've got to build industries so that we can lift the 4 million people out of poverty that are in social grants, the 2 million people that are unemployed. So the main issues here in KZN is to create jobs. Won't give our people jobs, they're not going to eat a slogan, the one shelter. As things stand now, for the backlog of housing in KZN, over 700,000. That's housing backlog. So we'll build a state-owned housing company so that we can remove these tenders that have failed to deliver the state, because what is currently happening under the ANC government, they've turned the state institutions into some tendering arrangement where even simple things of buying a toilet paper, that we've got a mayor that wants to buy toilet paper, but he has to call his cousin to go and create a company to so that they can be given a tender. So we want to remove all those things and make sure that we build state capacity. Must be state-led development.
All right.
We want our people to participate in the economy. You've got to decentralize economic participation, because we cannot have the monopoly industries running and making money in our communities without any participation. If you look at the retail industry, with the Port of Durban, where we receive a lot of finished goods and then they go to our communities. Look at the retail industry. Look at the chain stores. They are each and every community, every municipality. But you find chain stores sitting comfortably, Boxer, Pick n Pay, and everyone with over 12,000 products in a shop, but not even one product is being manufactured or coming out from the communities we are serving them. So we're going to be decisive in the community there to make sure that our people, they're not going to sit on the sidelines and watch those that are controlling this economy to continue. Want our people to participate. Our people are not going to eat slogans. They're not going to eat history. They want food. They want shelter. Want to make sure that there's a secure future for their own children. And we have to turn KZN around. It's got so much potential. It just needs leaders, not cowards, come and tell us stories. And what do they do? Decisive leadership. Get our people to participate in the economy. Get our people employed. Make sure that they've got shelter. They've got access to land. Make sure that the land that we have now, you can move from Kokstead to Mhlabialingana. Look at the land in town. It has been previously, it was owned by racists, and now the ANC has sold it to Pakistans and everyone else. Our black people, we've got a child now who finished his degree in UKZN. come back, he wants to be a lawyer, he goes back to Mutu, he wants to go there where he can open his own practice. He's got no access to land. He must go and rent from either from a white person or some Pakistan because they've been excluded. We want to give our people land, want to make sure that we create jobs, and we have to be decisive about that one. And we're not going to be apologetic to anyone who claims to be part of this rainbow nation and feeling comfortable that our people, they must always be beggars and be their employees. That will come to an end once the EFF take over government. We have to build infrastructure by making sure that we build state capacity and make sure that we abolish tenders where we can have our people participating and make sure that jobs are created. As I'm saying that we're not going to come there and give our people slogans and so on. We're going to make sure that they participate through being employment, through having access to land, through having participate in the economy.
Sounds like a manifesto launcher.
Chris Pappas intervening there on my behalf. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to take a break. When we return, we conclude the conversation.
Allowed him a space to speak, but he must never try to bring that tone to me. I've never worked for a white man.
Watching News at Prime, and we are concluding our panel discussion with the premier candidates of KwaZulu-Natal. All right, let's go to the ANC. Mr. Spear, let's come to you. Firstly, I don't think South Africans are aware who the ANC's premier candidate is and what is it that they have to offer.
No, thank you. Let me start by the last part, what the premier candidate of the ANC has got to offer. And then I'll come to the one that you started with later on. You know, in KwaZulu-Natal, if we can be fair, and those who have been in KwaZulu-Natal for the longest time, you will know the kind of a province that we have been having and where we are coming from. Today, when you look at State South Africa, what it gives us, the results that we are getting, but also what is there, what you can see and touch is that KwaZulu-Natal has increased in leaps and bounds access to water from 1994 to where we are today, access to electricity, access to better housing, because in KwaZulu-Natal, if you were in KwaZulu-Natal before probably 2008 or 2010, you will see almost 80% of rural areas, they were dominated by mud houses because of the poverty that was there. But those houses, a number of them have been demolished and we've built them, new RDP houses that are better. But further to that, we've built clinics almost in each and every ward. There are clinics. We've built more than 260 clinics in KwaZulu-Natal. Whether people like it or not, you go to Nongoma, you will find clinics that have been built by the ANC. You find clinics in Engotu, in Esho, in Kandla, where Mr. Ntuli is coming from. We've built clinics. There were no clinics there. So we're talking about things that are on the ground, that people are accessing, and those clinics are working. It's not just clinics that are there and are white elephants, but they're providing quite a good access to healthcare services. But also when you talk about education in KwaZulu-Natal, we had a number of mud schools that were there. When we took over in 1994, a number of schools in KwaZulu-Natal were mud schools. And we have eradicated those mud schools. We've eradicated mud schools even when we had some mud schools that were left.
Mr. Spear, I have to intervene, sir. Time is against us. I'm not asking you to give us a review of what the ANC has done. I've asked the question as to what is the ANC's premier candidate offering the people of KwaZulu-Natal going into this election?
The premier candidate of the
person?
ANC? What the premier candidate of the ANC will be offering the people of KwaZulu-Natal is the enhancement of industrialization in the province. We want to industrialize the province aggressively because that is the only way we can create jobs. We want to build infrastructure, more infrastructure in the province because that is another way of creating more jobs through infrastructure enhancement, but also through infrastructure provision. And then want to continue and make sure that the program that we have started of Oceans Economy, it goes and grows bigger. We are starting to introduce even those who are previously disadvantaged in the business of Oceans Economy, which is something that we never understood and we're never part of.
Okay.
We want to make sure that our people yield a lot out of Oceans Economy.
All right.
But further to that,
I'm sorry, time is completely out, sir. I have to know, who is the ANC's premier candidate in KwaZulu-Natal?
The ANC premier candidate in KwaZulu-Natal will be announced by the ANC leadership when the time is right.
Okay.
Well, they are busy dealing with that. Let's be patient. You will get the premier candidate of the ANC.
All right. Gentlemen, there's one question that we simply cannot gloss over. KZN, as some of you have said, has a history of political violence, but more recently, there is a worrying phenomenon of izinkabi, because there it is suggested that it has become the breeding ground of hitmen. So, Chris Pappas, 1 minute. I see you time and again make reference to the IFP, and South Africans will understand why. You are part and parcel of this multi-party charter. So, do you agree with the IFP when it says the death penalty is probably the best way to solve South Africa's crime problem? You have less than a minute.
No, I don't believe that the death penalty is the way to solve South Africa's crime problem. I think we have a leadership problem, and that transcends into the rest of our government state institutions, particularly the security apparatus, as well as the justice system. We need boots on the ground. We need a provincial police service. We need intelligence-driven policing. We need to be able to prosecute dockets through until prosecution and get people in jails where they have done wrong.
Okay.
We need to make sure that our police have the resources to do the job. And I don't think that the death penalty is going to solve any of those problems.
Ms. Ntuli, death penalty is not going to solve the problem. Change of strategy? What else do you have to offer?
No, on the death penalty, in fact, we said we'll do a referendum, not necessarily that's a cut and dry on the issue of the death, because the citizen of the country must be the one who will tell us what best strategy do they think will help. However, the issue of leadership, I agree with Pappas that the issue of leadership in the police services or the security, the entirety of the security cluster is quite very important.
Okay.
To be able to, in fact, combat the issues of crime.
Okay. Marshal Dlamini, very briefly, what's going to solve the crime problem in KZN for the EFF?
No, look, Tony, the KZN has got a crime problem. That's why it's an issue when you're debating with chance takers who have no idea what is KZN. As things stand, KZN contributes 25% of the murder rate in South Africa. About 6,000 people, they get murdered in KZN. And that is lack of leadership from the policing level. What Mkwanas is doing, we'll get support from the EFF to do more, because we can never have a situation where in KZN, civilians have got more guns than the state itself.
Okay.
So we need proper state that will make sure that it takes decisive decisions and leadership to make sure that there's less crimes in our place, and make sure that we flush out incabis in our communities,
okay,
so that our communities, they can live freely. We got to bring down the walls of the citizens. It's only those who commit crime who must have high walls in KZN. The citizens, they must live freely with no high walls protecting themselves from criminals. Criminals, they must be chased, and the EFF leadership will make sure that we bring proper policing. But we are going to KZN knowing the numbers, not someone who's just taking chances here. Because look like my colleagues have got no idea what is KZN. They don't know the numbers. So I don't know how they're going to resolve things that they've got effects on around. That's why I'm saying the 6,000 murder rate, we have to bring it down immediately by flushing out those that have decided that they are alone to themselves and by putting stronger leadership in terms of policing.
All right, Marshal Dlamini, thank you very much. Mr. Spear, I'm going to be fired. 2 seconds. What is it that you can do to bring crime down in KZN?
It's the sad part. We've been given very little of time to express our views, but it's okay. I think we must understand that the issue of death sentence, when it comes to the ANC, the lives of our people do matter. The right to life, it's protected by our constitution. It's just surprising that there are those who still believe we must go to referendum for that. But I believe that what President Ramaphosa has done so far in making sure that our prosecuting authorities equipped and is functional, it's yielding results. Well-equipped police are very important in this country to make sure that they combat crime. But also the number of police that have been employed, currently 10,000 have been employed. Having more boots will help us in combating crime. But also the society must be involved in combating crime. It's very, very important.
Okay.
But also the work that you see in KwaZulu-Natal being done currently, where criminals are really, really being targeted, and we are making sure that we eradicate them in all ways and means. It's what we are supporting in the ANC. It's the work of the ANC. Results are there. You can see that criminals are being eradicated every day.
Thank you very much,
sir. Results that we are seeing.
All
Thank
right.
you,
And I apologize for the little time. Unfortunately, it is all that we have.